federal prosecutor announced that they have filed charges in a plot to kill now President-elect Donald Trump. The alleged hit was supposed to happen before Tuesday, and prosecutors say Iran was behind it. Farhad Shakeri is an Afghan national still at large tonight in Iran. The Justice Department says that Iranian officials asked him to focus on watching and ultimately killing Donald Trump. My source tonight was Donald Trump's national security advisor, and before that, the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, Ambassador John Bolton. It's great to have you here. When you hear this news of an alleged plot to assassinate Donald Trump, as someone who has also been targeted, I wonder what your level of concern is about an Iranian attack like this happening on U.S. soil.
Well, I think it's a very major concern. I think this latest set of criminal charges just expands the information that's now publicly available. There are a lot of current and former U.S. government officials who have been subject to this Iranian activity. A lot of ordinary American citizens, Masih Alinejad among others, who are simply voicing their disapproval of the Iranian regime. And I have to say, a lot of other people who are in the range of the Iranian effort, who are being harassed and surveilled. Their names are not public, and they shouldn't be. But this is a large effort by the world's biggest state sponsor of terrorism. This is not computer chatter. This is not speculation. This is not some guy locked in a basement ranting dementedly on the internet. This is a clearly well-organized state effort by Iran, and it includes targets not just in the United States, but in Europe, too. And I think the real question as a matter of public policy, whether it's Iran or anybody else, is whether we simply treat this as a law enforcement matter, or we treat the very effort to go after Americans, whether they're successful or not in eliminating them, whether we treat the effort itself as an act of war.
Yeah. Well, and that's a question, of course, of how Trump will handle it. Obviously, Iran has seen how Trump was towards them in his first term. We'll see what that looks like in the second term. And speaking of just foreign policy itself, these details that we're learning tonight about this call Trump had with President Zelensky that Elon Musk was on, as someone who served as the national security advisor, for people who don't know, typically the national security advisor is on these calls with world leaders. What is your take on Elon Musk being on that call yesterday?
Well, it's my first reaction when I heard it was, well, so what? What's unusual about having the vice president-elect sitting with the president-elect on a call? And then I realized, of course, Elon Musk wasn't the vice president-elect. This is really, I think, typical of Trump. This happened in the transition to his first term in 2016-17. Sort of bounds and norms are not Trump's strength, as we know. I wouldn't get too hyperthyroid about it too quickly, but it's certainly not a sign that order and stability have suddenly appeared at Mar-a-Lago, despite what everybody's talking about these early appointments. To me, it looks like the same chaotic, do-what-you-want-to-do Donald Trump with his latest bright, shiny object, Elon Musk.
Well, and, we've heard the chief of staff, that's who you're referencing there, Susie Wiles. We're waiting to hear what these other posts are going to be. And you're someone who has served in every Republican administration since Ronald Reagan was in office. I think it's safe to say, I hate to break it to you, that your streak is about to come to an end. And I just wonder, where does Trump's win leave more traditional Republicans, conservative voices like yours today?
Well, I think the battle goes on. I think the base of the Republican Party remains a Reaganite party on national security issues. We're going to see a lot of struggles over it in the coming months and years of this second and last Trump term. And I think events in the world are going to have a lot to say about it. A lot of the talk you hear from people like Vice President-elect Vance is glib and superficial. I don't think they've ever confronted the real world in serious times. And I think they're going to do that because I think there are serious threats and challenges to the United States that are not susceptible to appealing political lines here at home. So it'll be an interesting struggle. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, and Pence played a pretty big role in the foreign policy front with Trump in office, trying to be kind of this stabilizing force. I mean, what do you envision J.D. Vance's role, if any, in that situation will look like?
Well, I think Mike Pence had opinions, actually. He had experience from his career in Congress, and did a lot for the country that has never become public, did it behind closed doors with President Trump. You know, I don't know that Vance has fixed views on national security. He had fixed views on Trump up until he reversed them in order to get Trump's endorsement for the Senate in 2022, and very successfully. I have to admire it as a marketing technique, and then he got himself made vice president. So I'm not sure he's going to go out originally, but I think he will try and figure out where Trump is and maybe get there first. That's not what Mike Pence did. Mike Pence gave Trump his own honest opinion. Trump made up his mind. He's the president.
You know, I remember when you were about to get the job as National Security Advisor, we'd see you coming down the driveway going into the front entrance of the West Wing when you were interviewing to become the National Security Advisor. While this hiring process is going on right now, can you just take us inside what those conversations with Donald Trump are like?
Well, I had a number of conversations with him before and after he became president. I had met him beforehand. We talked on numerous occasions, including right before his last debate with Hillary Clinton on foreign policy. We talked about national security issues. You know, a lot of people said that I actually got my job because he had watched me on Fox News for so long. I've been accused of many things, never accused of hiding my opinions. So I think he knew what he was getting, and then perhaps he found out he didn't like it. But it wasn't because of false advertising on my part, that's for sure.
What would your advice be to whoever is Donald Trump's next national security advisor?
Well, I think the first thing is to remember that the National Security Advisor really should do whatever he or she can, to put information in front of the president that is helpful in making decisions, to make sure the president has the options laid out before him and can make the best selection of policy he wants, and then to make sure that the president's decisions are followed through. If the president doesn't take your advice, then that goes with the job. You're the national security advisor, not the national security decision maker. But most assuredly, what your job is not is simply to say, yes, sir, when the president says something. You have to do what you can, and you're dealing with a human being, obviously, but you have to do what you can to make sure that all of the information is available, all of the feasible options are laid out. And if you fail to do that simply by saying, yes, sir, every time the president speaks, you're not serving the president, you're not serving the country.